Hi, I'm Dan Costa, the Chief Content Officer at Worth Media Group, and I am here with the philanthropist, Amy Dornbusch. Thanks so much for coming to Davos and talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is your first Davos. You've been here for a couple of days. What brings you here? What are your impressions so far?
Well, it started out as a father-daughter trip, right? So my dad's been here 7 times and is sort of something I've always wanted to do. But I'm really deeply engaged in conversations around global impact and intergenerational philanthropy and just a meeting of the minds of people that come from different disciplines to kind of think about how we can progress our agendas forward. So my impression so far is it's cold.
It is cold.
But I did get to go skiing yesterday, which was awesome. It's a marathon, and there's so much to do. But what I love is it really is a meeting of the minds. I mean, You have these people that are coming from all these different geographies around the world that are working on different projects, and it's interesting and engaging to get outside of your everyday mindset and hear voices and about different projects. So it's been really inspiring.
And it's telling that you're here with your father because your latest project is also an intergenerational project. Talk a little bit about how it works and why you're putting it together.
Sure. So the project is called AtlasDaughters. And what we do is really redefining philanthropic travel and what intergenerational philanthropy is all about. So we create experiences for grandparents and their children and their grandchildren to go and experience projects that are worthy of investment, mostly in the international space. So we're going to distant geographies. In some cases, we're going to places that are not well traveled, have established tourism industries, but we're really learning about what global philanthropy means, what global impact means, how all the different partners work together, and we're teaching our next generation of change makers how this all works. So this is really curriculum that you can't get inside the classroom. It's learning about United Nations and the strategic development goals, how all of the different partners play together. So whether it's corporations, multinational NGOs, family foundations, kids, individuals, advocates, and voices all contribute to this global network of change. And it's really important for a couple of reasons. One is we have to drive more capital into international work. And the best way to do that is to go and see it. This is not rocket science, but develop relationships, develop that trust before you feel inspired and move capital into these spaces. But also we need to ingrain behaviors in kids while they're young, where I do a lot of work in for-profit and not-for-profit investing. So I think a lot about this and what the future looks like for our kids. And I really believe that the future, we're not going to have these terms not-for-profit or non-profit. It's just going to be impact. There's going to be a much more blended approach to investing in global problems. And whether our kids choose a path of going in the nonprofit world or the for-profit world, we want them to lead with impact, and so we have to really ingrain those messages in early.
And ideally, they're going to participate in both over the course of their lives in various ways.
Oh, absolutely.
So you need to sort of understand how it all works. So you've just launched. You're going to have your first trip this summer. Can you talk a little bit about what that trip's going to look like? What kind of activities are going to be done?
Sure. So we are going to Samoa, which does not have an established tourism industry. So we had to build some infrastructure to create these experiences for our families, but it's a very small cohort, and we are partnering with a new NGO called The Greater Good. And this is a husband and wife team who have built and designed and patented the world's first fully compostable diaper. And so we are going to really learn and teach our kids concepts of circularity. And this is an innovative project that has the potential to become, at scale, one of the planet's most cost-effective plastic reduction program, because plastic diapers comprise literally a third of all waste across the South Pacific. Mm-hmm. So we'll be learning all of those concepts. We'll be learning from the communities where the circular economy is just a way of life. So the education goes both ways, right? I mean, the global north has a lot to learn from the global south in terms of how we think about single-use plastics and circularity and all of these kinds of concepts. And it's going to be a rich experience. We'll be meeting with government stakeholders, and most importantly, we will be able to move capital as a group because we can collaboratively fund the next pilot program, which will be the island of Tuvalu, which has been on the world stage because it's quite literally could become underwater in the near future. So it's very it's an issue that's very much at the front and center, and we'll have a great time, but we'll be investing in an incredible project. So
this particular group has the resources to make a difference in this one project. Where do you see this scaling in terms of how big can this get? What are your aspirations for the organization?
Well, like I said, this is curriculum that we can't typically get in the classroom, right? So you have things like Model UN, and some of these concepts are introduced to kids at a later age, but it's not curriculum that they get inside the classroom. So this is a platform of academia, but it's real world academia. So you have to, again, going back to those behaviors. How do we, this Davos just cracks me up. I was skiing with Lindsey Vonn yesterday, right? And my 5-year-old wants to ski race, so I'm asking her for advice. And she just says, at that age, the most important thing you can do is just focus on the fundamentals and the right mindset and the right, behaviors, because you can't unlearn those later. And I've been thinking and reflecting a lot on that, in the last 24 hours, and it's the same thing that we're doing here. We have to ingrain the mindset in kids about why this all matters and what we're working towards, and if we want them to be impactful and to lead with impact, they need to understand that, as they're coming of age. So my vision is to be able to spread, that kind of curriculum and learnings across.
There's two parts. There's the curriculum that you're developing, which can be shared and scaled and learned from, and other people can model their own experiences on that. But then there's the experiential side, where, especially for kids who can be all different ages, to actually experience it and understand it in a visceral way is going to be so much different than going to Model Congress and sitting in a conference room and having virtual debates, this is what I did when I was a kid. But like having that experience and having the location and then sharing it with your family, I just think it's going to lead to something that's much more impactful.
It's transformative. I mean, the genesis story of AtlasDaughters was a personal experience that I had. I took my daughter and my mom to Zimbabwe. We were doing some solar work for rural birthing clinics there with an organization called We Care Solar. And it was so transformational for the three of us, not just because we had this intergenerational experience, but I apply these principles that are kind of loosely based off of Jay Shetty's work, but it's the bonding ladder, right? So there's 4 E's, and I bring that to all the things that I do. But the way that we can really engage the most deeply in our relationships with our family members and loved ones is principles of the 4 E's. So it's education, so learning something together, experiencing something together, so just something new. Engagement, which is really, participating in something that is larger than yourself. And, those are the things that are going to contribute to deeply meaningful relationships with each other, but also, deeply memorable ones as well. So.
Yeah. Well, you definitely are hitting all 4 E's with this project. And not only improving the family dynamics and making that closer, but also engaging with the outside world, which is something...
Oh, I missed one. Entertainment. Sorry, I said 3. Education, entertainment, experiences, and engagement. If you do all 4 of those things together, it's transformative. So sorry to interrupt. But
no, not at all. That's how, look,
jet lag.
I think it actually does, it works, and you hit all those bases. Yeah. It sounds like a great project. I can't wait to follow it. And here, you should talk to us when you come back and tell us what you learned and how the experience was.
I would love to report back, and we're moving capital. So it's not just, it's putting money where our mouth is and really engaging the next gen of philanthropy. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. I really appreciate it. I'm Dan Costa, Chief Content Officer at Worth Media Group. There's more content on worth.com and YouTube. We'll see you there.